In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Nuuna Graphic L notebook. I'll go over the specs, I'll do a paper test, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this notebook coming up. Blake here with Blake's Broadcast. On this channel, I review fountain pens, paper, and ink, and as always, I put links in the show notes in the description below. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, it really helps out my channel. Alright, let's get on with the review. So this is the Nuuna Notebook Graphic L. This is a notebook that is made in Germany. It was recommended to me by one of my viewers, Eva, so thank you for the suggestion. As you can see, this is quite a striking looking notebook. They even printed the same pattern on the book block. Really cool looking notebook. So comes in this shrink wrap here, made in Germany, premium notebook. And then it goes through a lot of the features. Apparently this won a Red Dot Award in 2016, and this cover in particular is called the Megapixel. And so going over the specs here, starting with the cover, this is a screen printed cover, which I think is really cool, and it's a recycled leather, and then we have a 3.5 millimeter dot grid. It's a light gray dot grid, and we have page numbers. There are 256 pages, and it's 120 GSM Munken paper. They don't say what color it is. It looks to be like the Munken crystal color that we saw previously in the Moo notebook that I reviewed. It's a nice paper, not a particularly expensive paper, but it's pretty decent, and we'll go through the paper test and all that. So 256 pages, and they did 16 signatures, which is nice. That's a 16-page signature. It's a A5, I would say it's an A5 plus size. So this is an A5 notebook, so you can see it's a little bit taller, a little bit wider. The exact dimensions are 165 millimeters by 220 millimeters. Retail price on this is $35. I got it on sale at Barnes & Noble for $24. We have this recycled leather cover. I'm not exactly sure what recycled leather is. I wonder if it's like bonded leather, where they take all these scraps and they, I don't know, put it in chemicals and make it into a solid material like this. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but what I will say is, unlike most bonded leather or other leather, this does not smell like leather. It also doesn't feel like leather. It feels very plasticky. One of the cool features about this notebook is that it has this screen printed cover, so you can see basically with a screen print, it's a manual process, or at least definitely they do each color at a different time. So they'll do the blue first, and then it looks like they do the red afterwards, and you can kind of just see in some places it doesn't line up exactly, and that's just sort of part of the cool, I think, look of a screen print. And then when you go to the book block here, right, where you can see that this was done not in that sort of manual or two-step process, everything lines up perfectly. But anyway, you can feel the paint or the ink, whatever you want to call it, on the cover, and that definitely does change the look, or sorry, the feel of that cover. But even when I don't touch that area, it does not feel like leather to me. So don't be thinking you're getting some kind of luxurious leather here. It doesn't really read as leather. Now, I think the benefit of this recycled leather is that it is very strong. So, I've been folding this and being pretty hard on it, and it's very resilient. I don't see it being any worse for wear. We also have Nuuna here on the spine. And let me know if I'm saying that wrong. I have no idea how you pronounce that. It's not, I'll just put it this way, it's not a fancy leather cover. I really do like that they do this screen print. I think that is pretty cool and pretty special. Now, 16 signatures. Oh yeah, and by the way, the end papers here are dazzling, I would say, blinding. You can see Nuuna, made in Germany by brandbook.de. So even though Nuuna isn't really a brand that I have been familiar with, I am aware of Brandbook as a manufacturer in Germany. They do a lot of, well, as the name would suggest, branded notebooks. Like I think I have a BMW notebook from them and a Brown notebook from them. They do a lot of very, high impact designs like this. So this is just, I think, their private line of notebooks. Oh, geez. Okay. Anyway, so let's see what's on the back. Again, more of that same bright paper, nothing else here. There aren't really any other features. We just have those paginated pages. The 3.5 millimeter dot grid, I've been using it a decent amount, and for me, I don't personally like it. It's, 3.5 millimeters. You know, you basically, if you use 2 sets of these, you got a 7 millimeter rule, but which is a ruling that I normally like, but I don't know. When it's a dot, I don't really like it. Coming in here at the paper test, so we can definitely see a touch of feathering from the pilot. From the Hakase, which is, I guess, maybe even a bit wetter, we see, I think, more. From the Sailor, we get a bit. The Opus 88, a little bit of feathering. The Namiki Yukari Royale, the medium, we got quite a bit there. The Hiroshi Zuku Konpeki, this Lamy Dialogue 3, looks pretty good. I think the rest of the pens look pretty good. So we definitely do see some feathering with the fountain pens, unfortunately. Now, in terms of bleeding, we did see definitely some spotting on the pilot parallel. You know, the Hakase, we're getting a little bit, it's not coming all the way through. More is coming through with this Sailor King of Pen Broad with the Diamine Bloody Absinthe. The Opus 88, a little bit coming through. Namiki Yukari Royale, medium, a little bit coming through. Nothing from the Lamy Dialogue. What else do we got here? The Uniball Air Micro, a little bit. And then some of the more difficult pens, the Stettler Lumo Color, Permanent Marker, the Pilot Oil Drawing Pen, and the Copic and the Sharpie. So performance-wise, I would say for fountain pens, you can definitely do, well, extra fine, probably fine. You know, this Namiki Yukari Royale medium is a pretty wet medium. I've been using it, you know, a decent amount. And so here, where I've got more of that Opus 88 with the Hiroshi Zuku Yuyaki, not seeing quite as much show through on this test. I think that pen really does work. I think you can get away with most fountain pens as long as they're not really, really wet. So, like for instance here, this is a Parker Duofold Centennial in Broad. I don't remember what ink I put in here. I think this is J. Urban Pearl Noir. You get a little bit of very minor sort of feathering. It is a very absorbent paper, but personally, I'm happy to write with fountain pens on this. I don't think it's a huge issue, but if you're someone that really likes to dump ink on a page, then you might have a problem with it. I think because the paper is so thick, it's pretty fountain pen friendly, and it's very absorbent. So if you like absorbent ink, this is pretty good. Let's see. This is a more difficult pen. This is vintage Omas Ojiva, which is pretty flexible. You can just kind of see how different of a line you can get with this. Okay, well, so that didn't work, and we're having a huge actual mess on the face of this in addition to the back. So flexibles, scratchy pens, no. But that Broad Parker, pretty good. Do get just a touch of feathering here. This is nothing that would bother me. This, of course, is a disaster. So, again, I think most normalish fountain pens are pretty good with this, and I mean, I've been enjoying using this, just not with a flex pen. 16 signatures in here for 256 pages. That's a 16-page signature, which is very good. And as we can see, it is pretty flexible. I mean, you do get some resistance, partly because it's a thicker book and it's a thick paper with a lot of pages. I think it's really more of that down than the binding. Now this bonded leather, you can kind of see the back side of it, and it's not the best finished on the edge. It's a little messy looking, not a big deal, but it, you know, this notebook, I would say, doesn't have necessarily a super premium feel, and I think a lot of it is just kind of down to the feel of the cover, even though I do think it is quite a nice cover. So what are my pros and cons for the Nuuna Graphic L notebook? The biggest pro is definitely the looks. This thing looks really cool. They did a great job with the design of this notebook. I like that you get 256 pages and you get 16 signatures, so the binding is very nice, very lay flat. The paper is pretty good. It's a Munken, I don't know if it's crystal or Arctic white or something, but it's a Swedish-made Munken paper. and it's a pretty good paper, especially at that 120 GSM weight. Most fountain pens are okay. You know, once you start getting into the broads, you might see a little bit of show through, but really not the end of the world there. In terms of cons, this notebook is $35 retail. Pretty expensive. You know, the Munken paper is a nice paper. It's not an expensive paper. So I do find that the price of this is pretty high. This is supposed to be a recycled leather cover. I don't have any reason to believe that it's not, but what I will say is it doesn't smell or feel like leather at all. So uh, what are the benefits that are coming from it being leather, if there are any, is that it's going to be a durable cover. So that's really it. So when you see leather cover, don't expect something that feels luxurious or smells like leather, because you're not going to get that here. The other thing I would say is the dot grid, 3.5 millimeter dot grid. Don't really like this. Maybe for drawing people would like this, but for writing, I don't love it. Well, the other downside, of course, is because that huge paper and all those pages, very heavy notebook. And it's thick and it's big, a bit bigger than the A5 size. I don't know. I probably wouldn't buy this again. It's not bad, it's just not that good, but it does look cool, so I'll give them that. Anyway, do you guys have this notebook? Do you like this notebook? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you want to see more fountain pen, paper, and ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, and until next time.